Hi, my name is Kira Wolf. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from Buffalo, New York. I haven't done any live theater. I never really got a chance to get into it, but I do go to a lot of shows in Buffalo, and I've been to a Broadway show. A fun fact about me is that I published a book. My reaction to Hamilton in 3 words is inspired, delighted, and impressed. I chose inspired because it just talks about rising up, like starting from working your way up through hard work and dedication. Delighted because Hamilton's one of my favorite musicals. Love watching it. It's delighted. And impressed because musical theater is always very impressive to me because I don't think I could ever get up there and perform like how they do, and their voices are amazing, so left me impressed. For the theme of Hamilton, I thought that the play was about legacy. For the purpose, I thought that the artists wanted the audience to think about perspective and how stories are told. I think that the artists were successful in achieving this. Many of the characters had their own songs. They sang through their perspective, satisfied and helpless. Hurricane, wait for it. Even characters like Ariana DeBose's The Bullet, who don't have any dialogue in it. They're just kind of in the background, but they still really tell a story without dialogue. I also thought they were successful because they all told the history, and history altogether really depends on perspective, especially American history, because a lot of these people that we look up to, like Hamilton, George Washington, they're heroes to a lot of people, but they also weren't the best human beings, so they can also be monsters to others. So I feel like the purpose was really to make us think about perspective. My reaction to learning about owning your own was I respect the idea of owning your own. I think it can make for more responsible students, socially intelligent students who know how to have conversations with other people, respectful conversations. So I respected it. A lot of the conversations about race and oppression and identity were new for me. I think I just wasn't really aware of how much lower the percentage is of white workers, whether it's like actors, directors, etc., in theater than there are people of other races. My reaction to the discussions we watched in theater, the hiring statistics really stood out the most to me, especially the artistic director statistics, because as I can recall, I'm pretty sure it's like 100% white and 0% BIPOC, which was really shocking to me, just considering, how many shows there are and just how many people are working. Like, you'd think that there'd be more BIPOC workers in those positions, so that was really shocking to me. To sum up the current articles, the article talking about the letter, the We See You White American Theater, the article talking about that, it talked about the political climate at the time when the letter was written. It was 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, so these conversations were really happening. People weren't just gonna sit still and let these injustices occur in all parts of American society, whether it's theater or just everyday life. We're not gonna sit silent. So it kind of just talked about the political climate at the time. The actual letter was these actors and workers in theater that were BIPOC wrote a letter to white American theater. Some things that stuck out for me there were how performative like theaters were. They would try making it seem like they were doing a lot more for the BIPOC community, like going to these anti-racist workshops. Their actions went completely against what they were working for. For the Atlantic article, mentions a controversy surrounding a casting call for Hamilton because it was directed towards BIPOC actors. People, I guess, were really bothered by that. Hamilton said that they would change the wording, but they're not changing who they're hiring for their cast. They're not going to hire white people for the roles because it was to get BIPOC actors roles. The whole HowlRound article was about how just like many issues that someone found with Hamilton and how it doesn't give women enough stage presence. That was one issue mentioned, and then it also gave the false idea that if you're an immigrant you can just rise up out of the struggles, and it puts immigrants who weren't able to do this at fault. The Rolling Stones article, it talked about the differences between Gen Z and the millennials and said that the millennials try making a difference by working within the system, and Gen Z wants to make a difference by smashing the system entirely. My overall reaction to reading the articles were that they weren't entirely shocking. I think my biggest reaction that I had was the HowlRound article that stuck the most to me because when I was reading it, I was expecting it to have been written in 2020. They were talking about Black Lives Matter movement, and then I looked and it was actually written in 2016, which I thought was interesting. Because I mean, I guess I was younger in 2016, so like in my mind, like we didn't really start having these conversations until 2020. I do see Hamilton in a slightly different way. I still think that obviously I can't really speak as much on it because I am not part of the BIPOC community, but I do think that yes, it did do really good things for the BIPOC community, and I think we should still recognize that, but I think right now I'm starting to view it more as just like a single brick that has been placed in a long project, because it wasn't perfect, but I do think it was a stepping off point for more change to be done, but also something that we can look at and acknowledge its mistakes and learn from it, but keep what it did well.